to crown the queen of the video screen.
The winner is Cyndi Lauper.
Boy, am I glad I won. Otherwise, this tiara would have looked awfully stupid. But anyway, thank you very much. I'm glad I got one, Ma. Hey. Hey! And girls do want to have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, that voice right there is today. She's no stranger to the show. Heather B, as you know, she's been a citizen of the show.
Right.
I just want to say it's a pleasure to have her on. Grammy Award winning, Emmy Award winning, Tony Award winning. But when she won Best Female Video at the 1984 MTV Video Music Awards is when I met her and welcome her back to the show. Give it up for the one and only Cyndi Lauper, ladies and gentlemen. Cyndi.
Hey.
Cyndi. How you doing, Cyndi?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh man, it's I look at life and I'm happy I have it, Cyndi. I've gotten down to that, so I'm making the most of it. And the fact that I don't know if you recall when you came to our show a couple years back, we had a good time. OQ, lock her line for me, OQ. And we had such a great time. And I wanted to play back that Video Music Award because I have Heather B, my co-host on the show, with me, who also
Hi, Cyndi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
How you
Doing good. Happy you're back on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And your debut album, I know we're going to talk about psoriasis. I want to go deep into that because I have family members who live with that condition. There's a lot of people, like 8 million, more than 8 million people. So, I have it too. And and there's a lot of people in the country that have it. And that's, I did a podcast. That's what this is about. I did a podcast with PsO in the Know, and it was, I had no idea way back then when I received that, when I was doing that whole MTV thing, that, and a lot's happened since, I've lowered my speaking voice, very high back then. But, Did you know you had psoriasis then?
No. I just, some people get it later on in life, and that was me. I mean, I had some eczema action then that I didn't know what that was. I thought it was kind of like berry or something. You always think like the weirdest thing. But I went to the doctor, said, oh, that's eczema, blah, 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 blah. Here's the cream, blah, blah, blah. And when I got psoriasis, it was on my head. So at that point, our kid was playing hockey and I thought, sometimes they come back and they go like, who has bugs and blah, blah, blah. So, they can't hear you. I'm not on mute.
No, I can hear her. We can hear you.
You can hear me. Just
I
go.
can hear her. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper, ladies and gentlemen. Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper.
My assistant is coming in telling me that I have to do something. All right, I got it. Okay. So, I just, I started, getting ill from, thinking that I had bugs because, when your kids play sports, sometimes they come back, especially the helmet stuff, and they're like, oh, this person, you have to use this shampoo, blah, 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 So I thought that I got, bugs, and then I went to the doctor, and they said, oh, no, it's psoriasis. And now I wish it was bugs because, you could take something and it goes away. But psoriasis doesn't. You have to always be on top of it and manage it. And the reason I'm calling Sway is that I started doing these podcasts because when I first had it and it spread all over my body, I didn't want to talk about it to anybody. And I kind of felt better once I met other patients, other people who had not like, oh, I have a little rash on my hand, because it starts like that, and you think that it's a rash, but it's not. It's an inflammatory thing, and it could affect other organs in your body. Your skin is an organ, and if you're inflamed on the outside, you're inflamed on the inside. So it's an inflammatory thing. So it's always good to find a doctor who specializes in psoriasis. Because right now, there's a lot of cosmetology, which is great. Hey, I use it. It's good. But when you have something, you should find somebody who understands that illness, and it's a disease. And I actually lucked out because my doctor has psoriasis. So when I talk to him about it, he knows exactly what I'm saying because he has the same thing. We got to just really and write your questions down before you go in, because I always do that. You go in, you think you're talking to your doctor, you come out and you're like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
What did he say? Or what did she say? So notes are important. So I started doing a podcast so other people could hear how other people deal with it. So, when you get really sick with it, and I was really sick with it, I just thought, it's a stress thing. I'm going to just stay home and relax. And so it just covered me from head to toe. So the only thing it didn't cover was my face, which I was pretty lucky because I could keep working.
How did that affect your social life? Like, did it make you not want to put on clothes that showed your skin, or did it make you insecure?
Oh my God, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do. I know, my husband had always wanted to go to Saint-Tropez with his friends.
Yeah.
So we went together as a couple, and I had psoriasis I was looking really bad, but I thought if you sit in the sun. So I sat in the sun, and then I put a sundress on. I went to eat at, Saint-Gonçalves. This was like a big thing for us. And then somebody took a picture, and then it was on TMZ, and they said, she's got a lot of mosquito bites, It was kind of like, And I had other friends who looked at me and said, oh, my God, it's a curse. You don't want to go out.
Yeah.
Social life. Oh my God, no social life.
Let me ask you this.
Now, Sway. There's no social life now.
There's no social life now. Where can people find? Because I got callers that are dealing with psoriasis. Her line just hung up. So while we get her back, while we get Cyndi Lauper back, I'm gonna open up the phone lines. Psoriasis is something that's so common, like she said, over 8 million people in the United States has it, and some folks you've seen have it walking around your neighborhood or walking around your family. So she got this new podcast where she's dealing with it every single day and she's talking with other people that's dealing with it. So you want to talk with Cyndi Lauper, 888-742-3345. Heather, what's your Cyndi song you like?
Oh my gosh, True Colors, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, you name it, Sway. Let's go.
Let's have fun. Cyndi Lauper, 888-742-3345. Yeah.
Woo!
That's Cyndi Lauper right there. That album from that She's So Unusual recently made the list of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. Cyndi Lauper is with us. We're having a conversation about psoriasis, but you cannot ignore that accomplishment. Cyndi, obviously I was a big fan of your music. Is there anything you can share about recording that album? I know it was a long time ago, but it's just such a great milestone for them to recognize it as 500 greatest albums of all time. But what was your mindset back then as a?
It was written by a guy, and when it came to us, it was very Bowie-esque. I love Bowie, but we couldn't kind of make it work for us, and then Rick said, and I say for us because we kind of, all of us came from a band. I came from a band. The producer came from a band. And the two guys I was working with came from the band called The Hooters, Rob and Eric. And we were working together, and Rick had these songs, and he wanted to, he felt like this could be an anthem. And he kept saying that to me, this could be an anthem. And we couldn't kind of figure out where it could sit right for my voice, for what we were saying. So I edited the song to what I thought could be an anthem. And then there were, I asked Eric to kind of play it kind of like it was a Motown song, but play these chords. And then Rob Hyman, who is like, studied reggae, you know, I mean, he was like a devotee of reggae. And I felt like at that time, if you were too young, but what was happening was, you know, the reggae, you know, Jimmy Cliff and all the reggae bands that were coming to New York and the ska bands from England and Bob Marley, of course, but I think he passed away in 81. So we heard that music and it was really new for us, you know, for me anyway. And there was a sound happening in New York with that big snare sound. You hear that, right?
Yeah.
On that record. And I was from a band called Blue Angel, and you know, I never really liked my voice. My speaking voice is, you know, it sounds like I'm from the neighborhood. Like, I don't know. You know, I've always tried to learn better enunciation, but you know, what can I tell you? And so I was, you know, but with my partner in Blue Angel, John Torey, he was teaching me all this old music and voices that my voice sounded like, and they sounded good. So I figured, okay, you know, there's a place for me. And anyway,
wow,
there was a Shirley and Lee song called "Feel So Fine," and it was really high. So it feels so fine, know that you're on my mind, you know. And I thought, okay, what if he plays it like it's a reggae song, he plays it like it's a Motown song, and I sing like Shirley and Lee. And all of a sudden, and we said, let's just ignore each other for a second. And that's what happened, and it came together, and all of a sudden, it was the sound, you know. And that's how that happened. And then Ellie Greenwich, who was the woman behind the Shirelles and did the Leader in the Pack and all those songs, wrote "Be My Baby." She came to the session. Rick called her, and she said to me, she said, "Sin, let's go in the stairway and just sing with your accent." And I looked and I was like, what accent? But no, I know, I have an accent. So he sang, "Girls, they wanna have fun." And that was Ellie. Ellie did that. She invented that. And it just kind of came together like that. And it was at the record plant, which was on 44th, right off of 8th Avenue. And the weird thing is that when Kinky Boots opened, it was on 45th. Right off of 8th Avenue. So that whole neighborhood was like where I started. And it's a trip when I walk around Manhattan because I've lived my whole life here, you know.
Yeah. And I love these stories, and I didn't realize that kind of influence took place in the way you made music. So when I hear, you know, the Bob Marley stories, all these different influences, Motown, the whole nine, and then also When You Were Mine was written by Prince, right?
Well, but that came, he did it differently.
Yeah.
But he allowed us to, you know, like every time you get somebody else's song, sometimes you got to find a new heart, a new storyteller has to tell that story. And we were making a sound on this record, just the same way a band would have a sound. That's what we were doing. And so When You Were Mine, it was in the key of A. So either I sing really high or really low, but the really low voice doesn't have the power the really high voice does. And it was Lenny Pizzi turned around and said, look, why don't you sing two low voices with that high voice, and let's see what that sounds like. And it had a sound, and it worked. And I got to say, when I did meet Prince, I just think he was one of the great ones. And, you know, my girlfriend, Kat Dyson,
Yes.
she played guitar with me, but she played with Prince. And she used to tell me when Prince, I would always do Gay Pride. And I always had these crazy performance art things that kind of was a little Spinal Tappy. And, you know, every time I had these adventures, you know, she would turn around and say, you know, Prince went to that one. He was there. And I would just be like, oh, my God. So he saw and heard all my crazy stuff. And one time I went to one of his shows, and you know what that's like. They put you in a bullpen, and then everybody was like, okay, now everybody get up and sing with Prince. You go and each person sing something. He'll sing, you sing back to him. So it was call and response. So I'm standing in front of him, and I sang, and he opened his eyes, and he said, Cyndi? And I said, I know, I was just over there, and they said to come over here, you know. But it was amazing because he said to me, you know, all the things that you think when you perform, like your best performances are when you're unconscious. And, you know, and that to me was, those performances are kind of glorious because you're in the moment and you're connected to something bigger, and you got a hook into the center of the earth, and somehow you're doing these things that you think, and it happens. You know, it's an extraordinary thing. And I know that when he said to me, he said, oh, I was out of my mind singing. I just didn't expect to hear your voice. And I know that he used to come to some of my crazy shows, and he was always generous with us to allow us to use When You Were Mine on all those little CDs we put out on our True Colors tours for when we worked with Centerlink and PFLAG and the Human Rights Campaign. And that was when Obama was running for president. And then he became president, and then we worked with Judy Shepard and the HRC to show people what was at stake, and we kind of helped move forward the Matthew Shepard, Robert Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Amendment that Obama signed. It was but Prince was a part of that because he kept saying, yes, you can use that song. Yes, you know, and he never said yes.
He never. Cyndi Lauper, no Prince. He kept saying,
No, because he had a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
And you know, he worked hard on his music, and some of the things he did, if you listen even to the background vocals, they're extraordinary. Anyway, I know I want to talk about a lot of things, but I do want to talk about this podcast because there are extraordinary people on it. There's a famous chef.
Lala Anthony.
No. Lala Anthony, yes.
Yes.
But I spoke to Aaron Sanchez. He's a famous chef from the Cooking Channel, and he actually wrote a book, Where I'm From, that I got hooked on, where I come from. And he talked about mole, and he talked about Mexico, and he talked about being indigenous and Spanish. And he spoke about the connection of food to the earth. And then he spoke about how he deals with having this illness, psoriasis. And I got to tell you, I was pretty amazed because I started reading this book, of course, because when you have to interview people, you got to research them, right? You guys know, right?
Yeah.
So I, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, new hat, read this book, hurry up. And then in the intro, I started reading the intro, and just even in the intro, he got me when he talked about how food and the earth are connected and the soul of it. And I thought, oh, man, this is interesting. And then I asked him, do you have trigger foods? Because, with this illness, you get trigger foods. Like, I spoke to a young woman who was a ballerina, and I met her when I had met the first group of patients through Novartis, which is this company that contacted me because I was making jokes about myself on stage because, you know, at some point you got to have some humor about things and makes you feel better. Mm-hmm. So I started making jokes about it, and then they contacted my management and my lawyer, and my manager and my lawyer were fed up with me being that sick, and they said, no, you're doing this. So I tried, I went, but when I met the patients, and I met this young woman, Melissa Lilo, and she was a dancer who didn't want to be defined by her illness. So what she does, she picks the one thing. You know, ballet is about perfection, right? It's about being perfect, the perfect line. She didn't want her illness to define who she was. I mean, you got to give the kid credit. That's a lot of courage. And then, you know, I spoke to her on this podcast. So check out that. She's no longer a ballerina because she developed psoriatic arthritis, right? So she went from that to going to med school. But Sway, not just any med school, right?
Yeah, yep.
She's going to Stanford Med School.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because she wants to know about inflammation, and she's actually zeroing in on cancer. So, you know, you got to. She's another one that I spoke to that was fascinating. And Lala Anthony, she talked her way on a big radio show when she was 15.
Yep.
15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, the kid now that's a lot of courage.
That's a lot of courage.
You know,
she's a friend. Like, she worked with us at she's from, you know, worked with me at MTV. She knows all of us. She's a friend of the family. I worked on the LA radio station that she once worked with. I find your podcast to be so unique. Say the name of it, Cyndi, and tell people where they can find it.
Okay, yes. I am sorry. I just got hung up on these people. I even talked to an essential worker. Mm-hmm. This guy, Jared. Very interesting, this guy's life and how he deals with an illness. Because, you know, I'm famous. I could cover up. I could say, I'm not working that day. Maybe, you know, I can tell them who I think I am and get away with that. But, you know, if you work in an office or you got to just get to work every day, it's hard. It's you know, and how you deal with it and hearing other people talk about how they deal with it is important. Anyway, it's called PsO in the Know. It's psointheknow.com. And you can hear it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and it's really interesting.
Cyndi, tell your manager to get it on Pandora. That's our company. All them other ones are cool, perhaps. But
I'm just saying that this is where you can get it right now.
Yeah, you go.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'll tell them to get it on Pandora.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that this is a big thing, and there's a lot of people in the African American community with psoriasis, and you can't just let it go. You got to find a doctor that just specializes in psoriasis, because there's 8 million people in this country with it, and you're just one of them, like I'm just one of them.
Yeah.
Like Lala. I spoke to Lala, I spoke to Melissa, I spoke to Jared, I spoke to Aaron, and there's and I spoke to Dan Budikinski. He's an actor, a totally different career that he has to live with it too. And he has trigger foods.
Well, we have citizens, what we call our listeners, that are on the line that are calling from all over the country. Some has psoriasis, so I'm going to go to Missouri. My man Eddie's on the line. Grand Risings, Eddie. How are you?
Hey,
all right. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing her to your show, Sway. I appreciate that. And, you know, it's always good to hear your show. And
you, sir.
Cyndi Lauper.
Hey, Eddie, how are you?
I didn't realize so many people had this disease because I'm currently dealing with this, and I've been dealing with this for almost, I want to say about 2 years, maybe. There's been certain times that I thought it was going to go away, and then there's certain times that it comes back like really strong, and it's terrible. Eddie, psoriasis is really terrible.
You gotta find a doctor who specializes in it. Just look up dermatologists in your area and find a guy or a woman who specializes in it. So you don't have to, sometimes people just don't understand it and they give you a little tiny cream and your whole body is covered. But it's better if you just find out your options. You can't let it go because it's an inflammatory thing, Eddie, and something else could happen. You see that stuff's on your skin. You don't know what's happening underneath. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it'd be really good.
And the thing is that it covers your whole body, man. Like
I know.
And it's like,
how you doing with it? How are you doing now? Are you covered, or are you flaring, or are you is it settling a little bit?
Just certain parts of my body right now is covered and stuff like that. And I take I don't know if you ever heard of Humira. Humira, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The injection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get an injection like every 2 weeks and stuff.
Yeah. Is it helping? Is it reducing it now?
Well, not necessarily.
So then maybe you go back to the doctor, Eddie, and you say, listen, this isn't working. What are my options? Always say, doctor, can you help me? What are my options? It's 2020, Eddie. There's a lot of options out there. It's not just a one-way street anymore. You understand?
Right.
Okay. Hey, Eddie, thank you for your call, but I want you to become a supporter of her podcast. Okay.
Right.
PSA.
What's the name of the
PSO.
podcast?
Tell us.
It's psointheknow.com.
Oh, and Cyndi Lauper, before I let you go, I want to tell you one of my favorites. Mine. I love the way you did that version. I love it.
What song was
really
it?
Do.
What song? What song?
When You Were Mine.
Oh, the Prince song. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
I love that song.
Hey, Eddie, thank you for your call. You're a citizen.
Sway in the morning.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you tune into the podcast. This one is for you.
Yep.
We got Amiri on the line from Pennsylvania. What up, Amiri?
Hi.
Hey there. How's it going?
Great. We have
Going
Cyndi
good.
Lauper here.
How you doing, doll?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Great.
good.
I wanted to share that I dealt with psoriasis, and the way that I was able to heal myself was getting the right balance of omega-3s. So I found that if I got the right fats in my diet, that it went away. And I dealt with it for about 2 years, and I went to the dermatologist. Nothing was helping. And my chiropractor actually said, try getting the omega-3s and see if that helps. And it totally cured it for me.
Oh, that's great, Mary. You know that everybody's different, and what works for you or what works for me wouldn't work for you, and vice versa. It's a dirty trick kind of illness. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad that worked for you. I really, really am. And that's what I mean.
The other thing was I went vegan.
I went to the other thing.
That helps with the anti-inflammatory, getting rid of dairy and all that. If you can do it, it's not easy, but it can be well worth it if you're in enough pain.
I agree with Amiri and what Cyndi is saying too, because Cyndi touched on something that I think a lot of people don't do. When they get to the doctor, they just sort of feel like, and not everybody, but some people, Sway, Cyndi, they just, and Amiri, feel like I go to the doctor, whatever the doctor gives me, that's what it is. But to Cindy's point, you got to keep asking questions and saying, well, this is not working. So I had a combination of the two. I went to the doctor, and then I also did what Amiri did, and I found that turmeric, sea moss, cinnamon. I started adding these different things to my smoothies and to my teas in the morning, and just like that. So I was able to wean myself off of the topical cream that the doctor initially, gave to me, and it just became more of 100% herbal thing for me, to the point where I don't even deal with it anymore. So it's a combination of the two. If you can, like Cyndi said, it's about finding that right program for your body, because everybody's blood type is different. Everybody deals with things differently.
Yeah.
So ask questions
I
though
also
to the
like
doctor.
Dr. Sebi, who does
Dr. Sebi.
Dr. Sebi.
Yes.
Yes. So I follow the alkaline electric plan as closely as possible. So that's also a hard one to do, but I was in a lot of pain. So I was desperate.
Yeah.
So
and
you
see,
had arthritis. You have arthritis too, right?
No. I had a lot of gastrointestinal issues, and I think it was just my body reacting to all the chemicals in the food.
Yeah.
And so but even after going vegan, I still was having the psoriasis, and so that was why I
get up on that sea moss too, Mary. It does wonders. That sea moss helps out a lot. To Cindy's point, it's something on the inside, and it help. Even though my condition was really mild and it was only around my foot area, it's something. That's why, like, a lot of to the females out there and some men that do it. Watch some of these places you go into for manicures and pedicures and all these different places dealing with our skin, y'all. We just got to be careful out here. It's a lot of foolishness going on.
Hey, Mary, good advice, Heather. Mary,
listen.
Cindy still laughing. You're a citizen, Mary.
A Sway in the morning. People ain't clean, y'all.
People ain't clean. Cindy, can I take one more call? This person's been waiting a long time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, we got Arian from Georgia. Say hello to Cyndi Lauper. She has her new podcast, PsO. In the know, and you can find it on all the DSPs, and they're going to add it to Pandora real soon.
Hey, good morning, Cyndi. Good morning, Cyndi. Sway, how y'all doing?
Good morning.
How you doing?
All right. Hey, Cyndi, I'm dealing with something a little bit different from psoriasis, but it's called lichen planus, and it's basically like psoriasis, but it's a little bit different. And you go to the dermatologist, and he tells me it's just one of them things that just happened. And I'm like, man, I'm a healthy 44-year-old man with no issues, no medications, and how does this happen? And you can't give me an explanation. But, they want to prescribe all these steroids and creams and nothing working. So I'm part of a trial now with this company trying out this drug. I don't know if you ever heard of it, called Cosentyx. It's for psoriasis.
Yeah, I'm on that.
Yeah, and they're trying it to see if it works.
For me. But,
It worked for you. It worked for her. So you got to go through the trial, Arian, and keep in mind that you're a source of income. You're a revenue stream. Yeah. So anytime you go into the medical field, you feeding a lot of different hands. So folks will try to put you on trial runs and suggest you do this.
But Sway, wait a minute. Wait. He is having a hard time. And sometimes the creams, for me, I used a lot of creams. And then I kept using the cream. And then one day I'm getting out of a cab and a piece of my skin peeled off of me. Because it makes your skin thin. Yeah. So you got to figure out what the best thing for you is. And you got to ask your doctor. You got to constantly ask about it. Right? I went on this one because I made the doctor draw out because I didn't understand what he was saying. So he drew it out for me, the body, what the heck was going on, what the medicine was doing. And all of a sudden I looked at it and I understood. And I picked the one that I thought that was best for me, that didn't have a lot of those side effects, Yeah. So you have to go and you have to educate yourself. And you know what? If you have, I don't know, you called it lichen planus disease, you got to look that up and you got to find somebody. There's got to be somebody that studies that. You can't be the only person on the planet.
If I could say one more thing, Sway, before you let me go. I know a lot. Back in the days, man, I had some, as a youngster, I had metal fillings, like at the dental. How they put the metal fillings over your teeth when you have cavities? Mm-hmm. And they telling me, man, that I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm starting to hear that a lot, that may be the cause of it. The metal starting to leak now after all these years. Because I did have a filling replaced.
Wait. You got to go to the dentist and get that out of your teeth, hon. That's not good for you. Everybody got to get that out of your teeth. They have different fillings now. You can't have that in your mouth anymore. Sweetie, you got to fix that.
Hey, Arian, do me a favor. PsO in the know. You can find it on all the digital streaming platforms and soon to be on Pandora. Cyndi just told me that.
He wants that Pandora. Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, and you're a citizen, Arian. Thank you for your
Sway
call.
in the morning. Damn, metal. People still got metal cat fillings. What they used to call them, fillings or something. They got. Yeah, I didn't even know they still had those.
They still got that. Cindy,
no,
thank you.
No, because he never took them out. That's why. He should have had those taken out. A lot of people. You think you get your fillings, you're okay. By the time I got my fillings out from when I was a kid, I had to get rid of all of the metal fillings, and underneath were cavities. So good luck with that, right?
Absolutely.
But anyway, sometimes it's monetary thing, and you got to do it a little bit at a time, but you got to make that your priority. I hope he does well. Anyway, thank you. I'm sorry if I overstayed my.
I do have someone that tunes into our show. She's a dentist, Jen. You know her, Heather. Jen. She said lichen planus isn't something that can be cured, but does flare up. So that's for Arian. And there's no research that show that amalgam fillings have harmful side effects.
There you go. See, but you see why you got to research and you got to talk to a doctor, because a lot of us want to be our own doctor, but you didn't go to medical school. You got to find a doctor who understands what you have. And if you're going to a doctor that never heard of it and doesn't understand it, then you got to find a doctor who does,
Yep, that's the Baby Teeth Dentist. You can follow her at the Baby Teeth Dentist. Cyndi, love you. Thank you for calling on the show, and congratulations.
You guys have a good. I don't know what we're doing for Halloween, but
yeah. We'll just be good, and then you got to come back. There's a lot of other questions. I just really want to talk to you about music too, and your legacy and everything. Okay, and congratulations.
All right. And PsO in the know. Listen to the podcast. It's really it's a lot of fun. The people are awesome.
Thank you, Cyndi Lauper, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day. Tell your son I said what up. All right, peace.